Victoria Hargrove lived in a penthouse worth millions. In the heart of Canary Wharf, London. She had everything. Money, success, a flawless public image. But she hadn't had a single healthy day in years. Dizzy spells. Shortness of breath. Insomnia. Heart racing like it wanted to escape her chest. Every top specialist said the same thing. You're perfectly fine. Until one late night. Marcus Adebayo. A single dad who cleaned her apartment after hours. Found something small. Hidden carefully. Not a disease. Not stress. A secret habit she'd never admitted to anyone. If the truth came out, would Marcus lose his job? Or save her life? Marcus arrived at Horizon Tower every night at 11. He parked his battered 12-year-old Toyota in the underground car park, clocked in through the service entrance, and took the goods lift up to the 38th floor. The building was always quiet by then. Most residents were asleep. Or out somewhere expensive. The corridors smelled faintly of expensive candles. And fresh vacuumed wool carpets. He'd been cleaning penthouses for 3 years. It paid better than most night jobs. And the hours fitted around his daughter. She was 9. Her name was Amara. She had her mother's bright smile. And her father's thoughtful dark eyes. She stayed with his mum in their terraced house in Peckham. During the week. And he picked her up every morning before school. It wasn't glamorous. But it was steady. And steady mattered more than glamorous. The penthouse he cleaned belonged to Victoria Hargrove. He'd seen her face on the covers of Financial Times Weekend. And glossy business magazines at the newsagent. She ran a tech company that built software. For NHS hospitals and private clinics. He didn't fully understand what it did. But he knew it had made her very rich. The penthouse had floor-to-ceiling glass. Views across the Thames and the Shard. Marble worktops. Furniture that looked like it belonged in a design museum. Everything was white. Glass. Or brushed steel. Marcus had a key fob and a code. He let himself in and started in the kitchen. Same as always. The sink gleamed. The counters were empty except for one coffee mug. Rinsed and turned upside down on a tea towel. He wiped everything anyway. That was the job. He moved through the living room. Cushions perfectly plumped. Coffee table bare except for one remote. Lined up exactly parallel to the edge. He hoovered even though there were no footprints. He dusted shelves that had no dust. The flat always felt too clean. Not someone just tidied clean. More like, no one really lived there. Like a show home. He'd cleaned dozens of places over the years. Most had signs of life. A coat slung over a chair. Post piled up. Trainers by the door. Victoria Hargrove's penthouse had none of that. Controlled. Sterile. Marcus didn't mind. It made the job quicker. He moved into the hallway. 3 bedrooms. The master bedroom door was always shut. He never went in there. That was the rule. The other 2 rooms were almost empty. One had a treadmill. One had a desk. He dusted the desk. Wiped the treadmill. Moved on. Next was the guest bathroom. He scrubbed the sink. Polished the mirror. Checked the bin. Always empty. He replaced the hand towels with fresh ones. From the linen cupboard. And stepped back into the hallway. That's when he heard it. A cough. Sharp. Wet. Coming from behind the master bedroom door. Marcus froze. He'd been cleaning this flat for 8 months. He'd never heard her cough before. He'd barely seen her at all. She was usually gone by the time he arrived. Or she stayed behind the closed door. They'd spoken maybe twice. Once when she asked him not to use a certain spray, because it gave her migraines. Once when she handed him an envelope with a very generous Christmas bonus. The cough came again. Longer this time. Painful. Marcus stood there. Spray bottle in one hand. Cloth in the other. He told himself. Not your business. She's a grown woman. She has access to the best doctors in London. But the cough didn't stop. Nearly a minute. Harsh. Relentless. He heard her gasp between the fits. He set the bottle down on the console table and walked to the door. He knocked lightly. Miss Hargrove. No answer. Just more coughing. He knocked again. Louder. Miss Hargrove, are you all right? The coughing stopped. Silence for a few seconds. Then her voice came through the door. Tight, strained. I'm fine. Marcus didn't move. He'd heard that tone before. His late wife used to say exactly the same thing. Near the end. When her lungs were failing. And she could barely stand. I'm fine. Always. I'm fine. Do you need some water? Marcus asked. I said I'm fine. He heard movement inside. Footsteps. Something set down hard. Then the door opened a crack. Victoria Hargrove looked out at him. She was younger than he'd expected. Mid-30s maybe. Hair in a loose ponytail. T-shirt and joggers. Her face was pale. Dark circles under her eyes. Exhausted. She glanced at him. His tall frame, his calm expression. Then looked away. Sorry, she said. Her voice hoarse. I didn't mean to disturb your work. Marcus shook his head. You didn't. I just wanted to check you were okay. I'm fine, she said again. Just a cough. It happens. She started to close the door. But Marcus spoke before it shut. Water helps. Really? Victoria looked at him for a long moment. Expression unreadable. Then she nodded, just once. Thank you. The door closed softly. Marcus stood there a few seconds longer. Then picked up his things. And carried on. He finished the rest of the flat in silence. Locked up. Took the lift down. But he couldn't stop thinking about that cough. Over the next 2 weeks, Marcus started noticing things he'd missed before. Small things. Easy to overlook. There were always extra strong mints on the kitchen counter. Not in a bowl, just scattered near the coffee machine. 5 or 6 at a time. He threw them away. Wiped the surface. Next night, more mints. The guest bathroom bin always had a few crumpled tissues now. Not many. Just enough. He'd thought maybe a cold at first. But 2 weeks later, they kept appearing. Then there was the air purifier. Small, box-shaped, near the sliding doors to the balcony. It ran constantly. He'd never paid it much attention before. Lots of people in London use them. The air can be grim. But one night he noticed the filter looked brand new. No dust. No discoloration. He checked the model on his phone during his break. That filter should last 6 months. This one had been changed recently. He started watching more closely. Always a bottle of strong mouthwash in the guest bathroom. Even though she never used that bathroom. Windows left open even when it was 4 degrees outside. Balcony door unlocked every night. Despite the building's strict rules. And the smell. Faint. So faint he almost missed it. But it was there. Near the sliding door. Near the purifier. Sharp chemical scent mixed with something burnt. Marcus knew that smell. His dad had smoked 40 a day until a heart attack took him at 53. His wife had smoked too. Until the doctors made her stop. Too late by then. He knew cigarette smoke. Even when someone tried to hide it. Marcus said nothing. Not his place. She was private. He was just the cleaner. But the cough kept getting worse. One night he was cleaning the smaller side balcony. The one most people never used. Single chair. Small metal table. A dead potted plant. He swept the floor. Wiped the railing. Then moved the chair to hoover underneath. That's when he saw it. A plastic bag, folded tight. Wedged behind the outdoor aircon unit. He pulled it out. Opened it. Inside, cigarette butts. 20, maybe more. Wrapped in tissues. Stuffed in. Tied shut. Also a tiny glass ashtray. Barely bigger than a coaster. Wiped clean, but still stained with ash. Marcus stared at the bag for a long time. He thought about his wife hiding packs. In the garage. In the toolbox. In the pocket of an old coat she never wore. Chewing gum. Spraying perfume. Opening every window. He thought about her last year. When she couldn't walk 10 steps without gasping. He thought about Victoria coughing behind her bedroom door. Hoarse, breathless, alone. He put the bag back exactly where he found it. Finished the balcony. Locked up. But he didn't leave straight away. He stood in the hallway outside the flat for a long time. Staring at the door. He knew what he had to do. He just didn't know if he had the right. That night Marcus barely slept. He got home, checked on Amara. Ran his hand gently over her braids as she slept. Then sat in the kitchen with a mug of tea he didn't drink. He kept seeing the hidden bag. Kept hearing the cough through the door. He told himself. She's an adult. Her choice. You're the cleaner, not her doctor, not her friend. But the next night he checked the side balcony again. The bag was still there. He left it. Went inside. Victoria was home. He could hear her moving in the master bedroom. Door closed, as always. He cleaned the kitchen. The living room. The guest bathroom. He tried to focus. His mind kept drifting. He was wiping the glass coffee table. When he heard footsteps behind him. Marcus. He turned. Victoria stood in the hallway wearing a blazer and jeans. She looked like she'd just come back from somewhere. Hair down. Makeup on. But it didn't hide the exhaustion. Miss Hargrove, he said. He set the cloth down. Didn't realize you were home. I got back a few minutes ago. Her voice was quiet. I wanted to talk to you. Marcus felt his stomach tighten. Had she seen him near the balcony? Did she know he'd found the bag? Is everything all right? He asked. She crossed her arms. Looked uncomfortable. Like she wasn't used to conversations like this. I wanted to apologize, she said. For the other night. I was rude when you knocked. Marcus shook his head. You weren't rude. I was just checking. You were trying to help, she said. And I shut you down. That wasn't fair. You don't owe me an apology. I'm just the guy who cleans your flat. She looked at him, then glanced away. Still, she said, I appreciate what you do. I don't say it enough. She turned and walked back toward her bedroom. Marcus watched her go, then picked up the cloth and carried on. But her voice stayed with him. Something in it sounded like guilt. 3 nights later he saw her again. She was sitting on the main balcony when he arrived. Sliding door open. Her silhouette against the city lights. She was in a chair. Back to him. Staring at the skyline. Marcus hesitated. Then knocked lightly on the door frame. She turned her head. Sorry, he said. Didn't mean to interrupt. I can come back later. No, it's fine. She stood, walked inside. Closed the door behind her. Just getting some air. She moved past him into the kitchen. Poured herself a glass of water. Her hand shook slightly as she lifted it. Marcus set his hoover down. Looked at her. Are you feeling all right? She set the glass on the counter. For a moment he thought she might tell him the truth. Then she smiled. And the moment passed. I'm fine, she said. Just tired. Work's been hectic. Marcus nodded slowly. He didn't believe her. But he didn't push. She picked up her glass and walked toward her bedroom. She stopped in the doorway. Looked back. Thank you for asking, she said quietly. Then she closed the door. Marcus stood in the kitchen a long time. He thought about his wife again. How she used to lie even when he knew. How he let her. Because it was easier than forcing the truth. He thought about Victoria pretending she was fine. About the hidden cigarette still on the balcony. The next night he made a decision. He arrived at the usual time. Victoria wasn't home. He cleaned the kitchen, living room, hallways. Then he went out to the side balcony. Stood in front of the aircon unit. Pulled out the plastic bag. He could throw it away. Pretend he never saw it. Go back to routine. Let her handle her own life. But he didn't. He put the bag back. Went inside. Waited. Victoria came home around midnight. He heard the front door. Her footsteps in the hall. He was scrubbing the guest sink. He set the sponge down. Dried his hands. Walked into the hallway. She was near the kitchen. Setting her bag down. She looked surprised. Marcus. I thought you'd be gone by now. I wanted to talk to you, he said. Her expression changed. Guarded. About what? He took a breath. He'd rehearsed this. The words still felt clumsy. I found something, he said. On the small balcony. The one round the side. Her face went pale. She said nothing. I wasn't snooping, he continued. I was cleaning. Moved the chair. Saw the bag. Her jaw tightened. You had no right to go through my things. I didn't go through anything. I found it by accident. But once I did. I couldn't ignore it. She crossed her arms. Voice cold now. Defensive. So what? You're going to lecture me. Tell me how bad smoking is. No, Marcus said. I'm not here to lecture you. Then what do you want? He looked at her. Saw the fear behind the anger. The shame. I lost my wife 3 years ago, he said quietly. Her lungs gave out. She smoked for 20 years. By the time she tried to quit, it was too late. I watched her spend the last 6 months struggling to breathe. I watched her die in a hospital bed. Gasping for air. Victoria's expression softened. The anger faded. Something fragile took its place. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm not telling you this to make you feel bad, he said. I'm telling you because I recognize the signs. The cough. The mints. The purifier. The mouthwash. You're trying to hide it. I understand why. But the symptoms. The shortness of breath, the dizziness. I've seen them before. She looked away. Wrapped her arms tighter around herself. It's not that simple, she said. I know. I'm not saying it is. She was quiet a long time. Then she walked to the sofa. And sat down. She looked small. Sitting there in her expensive flat. Surrounded by success. Do you know what people would say? If they found out, she asked. Her voice shook. If they knew I smoked. Marcus sat in the chair opposite. They'd judge me, she went on. They'd say I was weak. Undisciplined. A hypocrite. I run a company that makes software for hospitals. I give talks about health, wellness, productivity. And I can't even stop smoking. She gave a bitter little laugh. I've tried, she said. So many times. But every time I quit, I fall apart. I can't sleep. I can't focus. I can't handle the pressure. So I go back to it. And I tell myself, I'll quit later. When things calm down. When I'm not so stressed. She looked at him. Her eyes were wet. But things never calm down. And I'm so tired of pretending. I've got everything under control. Marcus didn't speak. He just let her talk. I know it's killing me, she said. I know I'm not fine. But if I admit it, if I ask for help, everyone will know I'm a fraud. They'll know I'm not who they think I am. You're not a fraud, Marcus said gently. You're just human. She shook her head. You don't understand. My whole life is built on this image. If it falls apart, everything falls apart. He leaned forward, elbows on knees. I'm not going to tell anyone, he said. That's not why I'm here. I just wanted you to know that I see what's happening. And if you ever want to talk, I'm here. She looked at him. For the first time since they'd met. She looked like she believed him. Why do you care? She asked. He thought about his wife. About the nights beside her hospital bed. Wishing he'd said something sooner. Wishing he'd pushed harder. Because I didn't say anything last time, he said. And I've regretted it every day since. She wiped her eyes. Didn't speak. Just nodded. Marcus stood, picked up his supplies. I'll finish up and get out of your way. He started toward the kitchen. Her voice stopped him. Marcus. He turned. Thank you, she said. He nodded. Then went back to work. Over the next week, things were different. Victoria didn't avoid him anymore. She left her bedroom door open sometimes. Made small talk when he arrived. Asked about Amara. About his life outside work. He answered. But he didn't push. Didn't mention the cigarettes again. Just let her know he was there. But the cough didn't go away. If anything, it got worse. One night he arrived. And found her on the sofa. Head in her hands. She looked up when he came in. Exhaustion written all over her face. Bad day, he asked. She let out a long breath. Bad week. He set his things down. Sat across from her. Want to talk about it? She shook her head. Not really. They sat in silence a moment. Then she spoke. I went to the doctor yesterday. They ran tests. Blood work. Lung function. Everything. Marcus waited. They said I'm fine, she continued. Physically, nothing's wrong. The dizziness, the shortness of breath. All stress, apparently. They told me to exercise more. Meditate. Take a holiday. She laughed. No humor in it. They don't know about the smoking, she said. I didn't tell them. Marcus looked at her. Why not? Because then it would be real. If I tell them, it goes on my records. It becomes part of my history. I can't let that happen. He didn't know what to say. He wanted to tell her her health mattered more than her image. That hiding it would only make things worse. But she already knew. She didn't need him to say it. I'm scared, she said quietly. I'm scared that if I stop, I won't be able to function. And I'm scared that if I don't stop, I'll end up like your wife. Marcus felt a tightness in his chest. He thought about the hospital. The machines. The way his wife looked at him those final days. Sorry for everything. You're not going to end up like her, he said. Not if you do something now. She looked at him. How do I do that? One step at a time, he said. You don't have to quit tomorrow. You don't have to tell the world. You just have to be honest with yourself. And maybe with one other person. Her eyes filled with tears again. She looked down at her hands. I don't know if I can. You can, he said. I've seen you run a company. I've seen you give speeches. I've seen you hold it together when everything's falling apart. You're stronger than you think. She wiped her eyes. Took a shaky breath. What if I fail? Then you try again, he said. That's all any of us can do. 2 nights later, everything fell apart. Marcus arrived. Lights off. He let himself in. Turned on the hall light. The flat was silent. Too silent. Ms. Hargrove. No answer. He checked the living room. Kitchen. Rooms. She wasn't there. Then he heard it. A faint sound from the lift lobby. He ran out. Victoria was sitting on the floor. Back against the wall. Gasping. Face pale. Sweat on her skin. Hands shaking. Victoria. He dropped to his knees beside her. What happened? I can't breathe, she whispered. I can't. Another fit of coughing took her. He pulled out his phone. Ready to call 999. She grabbed his wrist. No. No ambulance. Please. You need help, he said. Not like this. Not here. Please. He saw the terror in her eyes. The shame. He put the phone away. Helped her to her feet. Come on. Let's get you inside. He guided her back to the sofa. Got her water. Made her sip it slowly. He stayed until her breathing steadied. Until color came back to her face. When she finally looked at him, her eyes were red, swollen. I thought I was going to die, she said. You're okay, he said. You're going to be okay. She shook her head. I can't keep doing this. I know. She looked at him. Something broke in her face. All the walls. All the control. Gone? I need help, she whispered. Marcus reached out. Took her hand. Then let me help you. The next morning Marcus came back at 9. He hadn't slept. He kept seeing her in the lift lobby. Hands shaking. Begging him not to call for help. He knocked. She opened almost immediately. Same clothes from the night before. Hair pulled back. Looked like she hadn't slept either. "I didn't think you'd come back," she said. "I told you I would." She stepped aside. Let him in. The flat looked the same. Clean, perfect, empty. They sat at the kitchen table. He'd brought coffee from the little shop downstairs. The one his mum used to take him to on Sunday mornings after church. He set a cup in front of her. She wrapped her hands around it. "Didn't drink." "I don't know where to start," she said. "You don't have to start anywhere," he said. "We can just sit here if that's what you need." She looked at him. "You should have called 999 last night. I could have died. But you didn't. You don't know that." Her voice sharp now. Defensive. "You're not a doctor. You're not qualified to make that call." He nodded. "You're right. I'm not. But you asked me not to. I listened. If that was the wrong choice, I'm sorry." She looked down at her coffee. The sharpness faded. "I'm sorry," she said. "I shouldn't have snapped. You were just trying to help. You don't have to apologize. You're scared. I get it." She was quiet a moment. "I've been smoking since I was 19, she said. "Started at uni. Everyone did it. Parties. Stress. I told myself I'd quit after graduation. Then after my first job. Then after I started the company. I never did." She finally took a sip. "It got worse when the company took off. Pressure never stopped. Board meetings. Investor calls. Launches. I couldn't afford to fall apart. So I smoked to stay steady. It became the only thing that made me feel like I could breathe." Marcus listened. "I know how stupid that sounds," she said. "Smoking to feel like I can breathe. But it's true. When I don't have it, I feel like I'm drowning. Like everything's spinning out of control." "It's not stupid," he said. "It's addiction. That's how it works." She looked at him. "How did your wife quit?" The old ache settled in his chest. "She didn't. Not really. She stopped when the doctors told her she had to. But by then, damage was done." Her face fell. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have asked." "It's okay," he said. "I want to talk about it. I want you to understand what happens if you don't stop." He set his coffee down. Leaned forward. "She spent the last 6 months on oxygen. Couldn't walk across the room without getting winded. Couldn't play with Amara. Couldn't do anything. The worst part was watching her realize she'd done it to herself. That if she'd stopped sooner, she might have had more time." Victoria's eyes filled. She didn't wipe them away. "I don't want that to be you," he said. "I don't want you to look back in 5 years and realize you could have done something. Because you can. Right now. You still have time." She took a shaky breath. "I don't know if I'm strong enough." "You are. But you don't have to do it alone." She looked at him. For the first time, she believed him. Over the next few weeks, Marcus came during the day instead of at night. Victoria had taken time off work. Told her assistant it was a personal matter. Needed space. Told no one else. Marcus didn't clean on those visits. He just sat with her. Sometimes they talked. Sometimes they didn't. He brought water when she needed it. Stayed when the cravings hit hard. The first days were brutal. Restless. Irritable. Exhausted. She snapped at him more than once. Each time she apologized after. He told her it was fine. He'd seen it before. It wasn't personal. I feel like I'm losing my mind, she said one afternoon. She sat on the sofa, knees to chest. I can't think. I can't sleep. I can't do anything. It gets easier, he said. Not right away. But it does. How long did it take your wife? He thought back. A few weeks before the physical stuff eased. A few months before she stopped thinking about it all the time. She gave a bitter laugh. A few months. Great. I know it feels impossible right now, he said. But you're doing it. You haven't smoked in 5 days. That's something. 5 days doesn't mean anything. If I go back tomorrow. Then don't go back tomorrow, he said. Just focus on today. She wrapped her arms around her knees. Stared out the window. What if I fail? She asked quietly. Then you try again, he said. That's all you can do. On the 8th day, she broke. Marcus arrived. Found her on the balcony. The same one where he'd found the cigarettes. She wasn't smoking. But she held something. He walked over. Saw the pack. Unopened. I bought them this morning, she said. Flat. Emotionless. Walked to the corner shop. Bought them. Came back here. Been sitting here 2 hours. Trying to decide if I'm going to open them. Marcus sat in the chair beside her. Said nothing. I don't know if I can do this, she said. I thought I could. I don't know anymore. He looked at the pack. Do you want to open them? She stared at it. Yes. And no. I don't know. What would happen if you did? Her hands tightened around the pack. I'd feel better for about 10 minutes. Then I'd feel worse. Because I'd know I failed. You haven't failed, he said. You bought them. But you haven't smoked them. That's not failing. That's fighting. She looked at him. Eyes red. Face pale. I'm so tired of fighting. I know. But you're still here. That means something. She stared at the pack a long time. Then she stood. Walked to the railing. Threw it over the edge. Marcus watched it fall 38 floors. And disappear into the street below. She turned around. Looked at him. She was crying now. Really crying. Not hiding it. I don't want to die, she said. Marcus stood. Walked to her. You're not going to. She covered her face with her hands. Let herself cry. Marcus stood beside her. Let her. Didn't try to fix it. Just stayed. After that day, things got easier. Not easy. But easier. Cravings still came. But less intense. She slept better. The cough began to fade. Dizziness came less often. Marcus still came a few times a week. Visits were shorter now. She was finding her footing. One afternoon he arrived. She was at her desk in the spare room. Laptop open. Typing. She looked up. Hey. She looked different. More rested. More alive. Hey, he said. How you feeling? Better. Not perfect. But better. He smiled. That's good. She closed the laptop. Turned to face him. I've been thinking about going back to work. Not full-time. Not yet. Maybe a few hours a day. Ease back in. Sounds like a good idea. She nodded. I'm nervous. I don't know how I'll handle the stress without. She stopped. Without the crutch. You'll figure it out, he said. You've made it this far. She looked at him. I couldn't have done this without you. He shook his head. Yes, you could. You just didn't have to. She stood. Walked over. Held out her hand. Thank you. He shook it. You're welcome. 3 months later. Victoria gave a talk at a health and wellness conference in Manchester. Marcus didn't go. But he watched the recording online. He sat in his mum's living room in Peckham. Amara asleep on the sofa beside him. Head resting against his arm. Victoria stood on stage in front of hundreds. She talked about mental health. About the pressure to seem perfect. About the cost of hiding who you really are. She didn't mention smoking. Didn't mention Marcus. But she spoke about asking for help. About admitting when you're not okay. About the strength it takes to be vulnerable. At the end, someone asked, "What's the hardest thing you've ever done?" She didn't hesitate. Admitting I needed help, she said. And then actually accepting it. Marcus turned off the video. Sat back. He thought about his wife. About things he wished he'd said. Things he wished he'd done. He thought about Victoria on that stage. Telling the truth. He thought about how sometimes what saves you isn't a cure. Or a miracle. It's just another person. Who sees you. And refuses to look away. A week later he got a text from Victoria. First time she'd messaged outside work. Short message. 4 months. Still going. Thank you. Marcus smiled. Put his phone away. Didn't reply. Didn't need to. The next time he saw her was at the penthouse. He'd gone back to night shifts. She was home when he arrived. She opened the door. Smiled. Marcus. Come in. He walked inside. The flat looked the same. Clean, organized, perfect. But this time it didn't feel empty. She went to the kitchen. Poured 2 glasses of water. Handed one to him. I wanted to tell you something, she said. He set his cleaning things down. Took the glass. What's that? I told my board, she said. About everything. The smoking. Taking time off. Needing help. He looked at her, surprised. How did they react? She smiled. Better than I expected. They were supportive. One of them even told me she'd been through something similar. We talked for an hour. That's good. It is? I spent so long being afraid of what people would think. Turns out most of them just wanted me to be okay. Marcus nodded. People surprise you sometimes. She looked at him. You did. He didn't know what to say. So he just smiled. She set her glass down. Walked to the window. Looked out at the city lights. I used to think weakness was the worst thing you could be, she said. But I was wrong. The worst thing you can be is alone. Marcus stood beside her. Looked out too. You're not alone, he said. She turned to him. Smiled. I know. They stood there a moment. Looking at the lights. Then Marcus picked up his cleaning things. And got to work. And for the first time in a long time, the penthouse felt like a place where someone actually lived. Sometimes the thing that kills you isn't the habit itself. It's the fear of being judged when you need help the most. And sometimes the person who saves you isn't a doctor, or a therapist, or a miracle. It's just someone who sees the truth and refuses to let you face it alone.